Hello, guys, and welcome to another episode of Second Life Electronics. Have you ever wondered what goes on behind the scenes of a retro computing YouTube channel such as this? You see the repairs, you see the restorations, you see the successes. In our case, you see a lot of the failures. But what you don't see are the hours spent researching faults, filming, editing, answering emails, managing stock, packing orders, and trying to keep everything moving forward. And sometimes you find yourself making decisions that aren't quite as straightforward as they might originally seem. In fact, we recently received our very first sponsorship offer, and after giving it some serious thought, we turned it down. Today, we're going to talk about why, along with some of the realities of running a small retro repair YouTube channel that people don't always get to see. So, grab yourself a coffee, and we'll be back after the intro. Hello everyone and welcome back. If you've been with us for a while, you'll know that these coffee chats are a chance for us to put the tools down for a few minutes and just have a proper conversation. Normally we're buried inside a Commodore 64, an Amiga, Spectrum, or some other piece of vintage technology that's decided to test our patience. Today though, we thought we'd talk a little bit more about what happens behind the scenes. Because while we're trying to be as transparent as possible on the channel, there are plenty of things that viewers never really get to see, and some of them might surprise you. Now, one of the biggest misconceptions about YouTube is that making the video is the hard part. In reality, filming is often the easiest part of the whole process. A repair video that lasts 20 or 30 minutes might represent several evenings of work. There are faults to diagnose, schematics to study, parts to source, camera batteries to charge, occasionally microphones that I forget to charge and then have to re-record videos again. There's audio to record, footage to edit, and then there's all the little things that nobody ever thinks about until they start doing it themselves. Sometimes we'll spend longer researching a fault than actually repairing it. Sometimes a repair goes smoothly. Sometimes a machine decides it's going to behave perfectly right up until the moment the camera starts recording. I'm sure many of you can relate to that one. Now, something else that often surprises people is how much of our time isn't actually spent making any videos at all. There are emails, website updates, social media posts, management, customer messages, packaging, trips to the post office, organising projects, planning future videos, keeping track of parts, and generally trying to stay on top of 100 different things at once. The reality is that running the channel and business often feels like having several jobs all happening simultaneously. It is rewarding, but it can certainly keep us busy. So let's talk about job lots for a minute. Because if you've watched the channel for any length of time, you'll know that we have a bit of a habit of bringing home boxes of mystery electronics and hoping for the best. Now, YouTube tends to show the exciting finds, the rare machines, the unexpected discoveries, the hidden gems. What doesn't always come across is just how much of a gamble these purchases can be. For every fantastic find, there can be a lot of items that need extensive work, have little value, or simply aren't worth the effort required to bring them back. For those of you that have watched from the beginning, we did the job lot of Mix Electronics, and there was a dog simulator. Something that's just supposed to bark, make it sound like you've got a big scary dog. No real value to anyone, but that's just part of the hobby. Sometimes you win, sometimes you learn an expensive lesson, and sometimes you end up storing 20 kilograms of future projects. Now, this brings us on to something that happened recently. We actually received our first genuine sponsorship offer. When that email arrived, it was obviously exciting. It's one of those moments when you realise that companies are starting to notice what you're doing. And we're incredibly grateful that anybody considers the channel worthwhile enough to approach us. But after looking into the company and the service they were offering, we decided to decline. The reason was actually very simple. It just wasn't a product that we would use. It wasn't particularly relevant to retro computing, and most importantly, we struggled to see how it benefited the people who watch this channel, such as yourselves. Could we have accepted it? Probably. Would it have been the right thing for the channel? We didn't think so. For us, trust is everything. The fact that people choose to spend part of the day watching our videos is something we genuinely appreciate. The last thing we want to do is recommend something purely because someone is willing to pay us. That's not why we started this channel. Now, that's not to say we'll never have sponsors. Far from it. We would, if a company such as PCBWay or JLPCB comes along with products or services that genuinely fit what we do, then we're absolutely open to having that conversation. But we'd rather work with sponsors than feel like we're working for sponsors. And if we're ever recommending something, we want to be able to do so honestly. One thing we definitely didn't expect when we started all of this was the community that would grow around the channel. The comments, the conversations, the advice coming backwards and forwards, the troubleshooting suggestions, the shared experiences is generally one of the best parts of what we do. We've learned things from our viewers. We've solved faults because viewers spotted something that we'd missed. And we've met some fantastic people through a shared love of retro computing and electronics. That sense of community is something we're incredibly grateful for, and one of the reasons we work so hard to keep this channel authentic. With all the time involved, all the challenges, and all the occasional frustrations, people sometimes ask why we keep doing it. The answer is actually pretty simple: because we love it. We love preserving these machines. We love solving problems. We love learning new things. We love sharing the journey with all of you. And every time a machine springs back to life after years of being broken, it still feels just as satisfying as it did when we first started. So that's just a little glimpse behind the curtain of some of the realities of running a small retro YouTube channel such as ourselves. The good bits, the challenging bits, and yes, the occasional sponsorship email that ends up being politely declined. Now we'd love to hear from you. What surprised you most about what goes on behind the scenes? What companies do you think would actually be a good fit for a retro computing channel? And what would you like us to talk about in future coffee chats? As always, thank you for watching, thank you for supporting the channel, and thank you for being part of this fantastic community. Take care, enjoy your retro computing, and we'll see you in the next video. Goodbye for now.